Hi guys, this is jsno.com and I'm here with the unboxing of the Motorola Moto G200, one of the most powerful Motorola phones unveiled this year. So it's the first mid-range phone with a Snapdragon 888 Plus processor, which until now was reserved for gaming phones. The processor was unveiled in August when the first handsets with it came out, and once again it was only meant for gaming phones and also for special handsets like the Xiaomi Mix 4, which was a bit experimental. As usual, Motorola is providing a case in the box and an interesting backside design. Now the product is priced at around $500, which is actually not bad for such a high power CPU inside. Okay, so we have the blue version here. There's also a green one, and I have to say that for a phone with such a large diagonal, 6.8 inches, it's quite easy to handle and lighter than the last few Motorola offerings. Now it comes with a 108 megapixel camera at the backside in a triple camera setup, a big battery, 5000 mAh, and you're going to learn more about it in the next few minutes. So the unboxing proceeds, and as I said before, the first accessory in the box is the case you can see here. I can already notice there is an odd thing here. The way the camera sits is very sloped. The device sits on the camera in a very sloped manner, as you can tell for yourself by the way it's wobbling here. Now in the box we have these accessories. So we start with the manual. We have a key used to access the dual SIM card slots, only those, there's no micro SD, and the juridic and security safety info. Then comes the charger with an USB-A connector. This is a 33 watt charger, if I'm reading it correctly. Yes, 33 watts maximum. It's connected to a cable which goes from USB-C to USB-A, and that's everything available here. Okay, so now the full name is actually Moto G200 5G. It's a 5G phone, and let's dissect it. So the device is available in two hues. They're calling it Stellar Blue and Glacier Green. The backside here is a bit frosted looking. It's between frosted and gradient. It's made of plastic. The frame is also plastic, and the facade is covered with glass. I have to say it's one of the curviest backs I've seen for a phone recently. Not just curved on the sides, but curved for the almost entirety of the backside, and that's pretty original. Now the thickness is actually not bad for the battery size, 8.9 millimeters in thickness, and the weight is decent, 202 grams. Since it's a long phone, I would say that the weight is pretty well distributed in order not to make it feel extra heavy. Now aside from that, I think it's time to tweak the brightness a little bit, turn it down a notch, and start talking about the device's specs. First things first, the screen. We're dealing here with a 6.8 inch panel. I would say it's just an IPS LCD. I just did some reading on the Motorola website. It's actually an IPS TFT LCD, so they made a bit of a compromise. The resolution is typical 2460 over 1080 pixels, Full HD Plus basically. But there's an extra interesting feature here. I'm talking about the refresh rate, which if you go here, here, and here, you can set it to 144 Hz for a smoother experience, particularly in games like Dead Cells, which supports such a refresh rate. Now, there's also HDR10 support, and just a quick reminder, as usual, Motorola throws in that extra water repellent thingy, IP52, just so you know. Now, the star of the show and the selling point is obviously the processor we have here, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 Plus, which is basically like the one from last year, the Plus version. The core processor clocked at a higher rate with better thermal management and less power usage. It's a processor which was debuted on gaming phones this year from ZTE, Nubia, from Asus, and a few more. It's a 5nm octa-core CPU with the Adreno 660 GPU, the same one from the Snapdragon 888. It's accompanied by 8 gigs of RAM, which I was surprised to see. There is no 12 gig version. I would have imagined there was, but there isn't. It's LPDDR5 RAM, and we also get 128 GB of storage. There's also a version with double that amount, UFS 3.1 obviously. Now the battery is, I would say, pretty generous compared to what we're seeing nowadays. 5000 mAh as expected, 33 watt charging, and other features include a singular speaker here at the bottom, microphone next to it, USB-C 3.1, this is the SIM tray. Here we have the physical Google Assistant button. If you press it, you're going to trigger Google Assistant. On this side, you have the volume buttons and the power button, which embeds the fingerprint scanner, which I just used. If I use this finger, it doesn't unlock the phone. If I use this one, it very swiftly and fast and quick unlocks the phone. Okay, and no audio jack, as you can see, just another hole at the top, which I'm guessing is for a discreetly integrated microphone. Now, since I mentioned the speaker, and once again it's a singular one, a quick glance at the Moto app and the Dolby Atmos section. We got those tweaks, smart audio, music, film, game and podcast. These are basically the modes you're going to be working on if you want to adapt the experience to your needs. Okay, so we have reached the area of connectivity, and of course is well spec'd. I'm talking about 5G, not just Wi-Fi 6, but Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2, GPS, GLONASS and Galileo, NFC and USB-C 3.1. On the camera front, I have to say that the punch hole here is rather big for the 16 megapixel shooter, while the backside an unusual design with these two slopes here. It kind of reminds me of the Oppo Find X3 Pro, just kind of. It basically highlights the camera area, and it's, I would say, rather interesting. The star of the show is the 108 megapixel shooter. It uses a Samsung ISOCELL HM2 sensor, also found on the likes of the Redmi Note 10 Pro, Redmi Note 11 Pro and the Realme 8 Pro. It was unveiled in September 2020. So this 108 megapixel shooter combines 9 pixels in one. Then we have the 13 megapixel ultra-wide camera with autofocus for your macro needs and a small 2 megapixel bokeh shooter. There's a dual tone dual LED flash here, and this baby shoots 8K video. Believe it or not, it's probably the cheapest 8K filming phone on the market, unless I'm mistaken. And if you go here, you're going to see 8K in 24 frames per second, 4K in 60 frames per second, and of course Full HD is also an option. These are the camera modes. We go from spot color to cinematograph, ultra res, document scanning, night vision, portrait, group selfies. We have dual capture with both the front and the back camera, portrait for video, that's nice, and spot color. And a few extra settings and tweaks which you're going to find if you press here, including a bunch of AI settings. Now, it also has low light AI and image stabilization. Now let's see what software we're dealing with. Aside from the fact that we have a clean Android experience and we're running on Android 11 here, Motorola only contributes with two things software-wise. This Moto area, which lets you do some customization when it comes to fonts, colors, icon shapes and layout. They're also providing some gestures for your control, quick capture, fast torch, 3-finger screenshot, the navigation ones, which I'm already using, tips and tricks, the display extra settings, pick display and attentive display, and obviously the gaming features and the musical features. So you first have to download some games to actually activate them, but there are some options and tools to play with here, like blocking notifications, accidental touches, and a few more, even related to performance. And Ready For is, as usual, part of the package. It basically lets you turn this phone combined with a monitor, a mouse and a keyboard into a PC replacement. It lets you perform video calls on a large screen, game on a large screen using a controller, and do some office chores without needing a PC, just by connecting the phone via wireless or via USB-C to a monitor. That's about it. This has been the unboxing of the Moto G200, the first affordable Snapdragon 888 Plus handset and the most affordable phone to shoot 8K video right now. My first impression is that the phone is quite easy to handle for the size of the screen. I have some worries for the TFT panel here not being that bright, and I'm curious how you're going to rest this on a flat surface. I think the case may help with that. We'll be back with more in the full review pretty soon here at gsndom.com. Bye bye.